So this is going to be a quick tutorial on the calculator that is available for the online PSSAs. This calculator has a lot of useful functions. There's also going to be several functions that are not going to be applicable to 7th grade. So we're going to go over all the functions available to you. We're going to start on the left-hand side in the upper left-hand corner where we have some menu keys here. We have main, ABC, and function. Main is where you're going to want to leave it most of the time. The ABC gives you a keyboard, which you are probably not going to need to use for 7th grade PSSAs. The function gives you more advanced functions for higher levels of math. The only keys you might need in the function menu would be mean and round, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. The majority of the time you're going to leave it under main. Next to main you see RAD and DEG. RAD stands for radians, DEG stands for degrees. These are just different ways of measuring parts of a circle. Mostly used for geometry. You are not going to need to use radians or degrees for 7th grade PSSA, so you can ignore those buttons. Going left, we have an undo button and a redo button, and we also have a clear all button. Then we have a menu or a settings button. The only thing you might want to change here is if it is tough on your eyes, you can turn on the reverse current contrast to put it on dark mode. Layout is pretty basic. On the left side, you have some special function keys. In the middle, we have all of our digits and our operators. And on the right side, we have two more function keys. We have a left and a right arrow. We have a backspace arrow, and we have an enter arrow. So let's start in the middle here. If you want to perform basic operations like 5 times 6, you simply enter it and it will show up in the first bar. Your answers are going to show up on this side, and the answers are going to always update even if you're adding more operators. So if I do 5 times 6 divided by 3, which is 10, the answer changes. When you're ready to go to a new line, you press the blue enter key. One other key here in the middle I want you to bring your attention to is the ANS key. That stands for an answer. So if you're ever doing a multi-step problem and you need an answer from your last one, you can click that and whatever is in the answer above will show up down below. All right, now let's start with the functions on the left side. We have an a squared key, an a to the b power, and the absolute value of a in the top row. So the a squared key will take whatever number and it will square it. So 5 to the second power means 5 times 5, which equals 25. If you need to raise a number to a power other than 2, you need to use the AB key. So if we have 5 to the third power, I would enter the base, press the AB key, enter my exponent 3, and 5 to the third power is 125. The absolute value key is if you need to find the absolute value of either a number or an operation. So if I have 5 minus 9, I know that's going to be -4. But if I need the absolute value of 5 minus 9, I would click on the absolute value bars, enter my expression 5 minus 9, and find the absolute value of 5 minus 9 is 4. Because remember, absolute value measures the distance from 0. In the second row, we have square root, we have a root with an index, and we have a pi key. You are not going to need to use either of the root keys. You may need to use the pi key, and when you click on the pi key, you will get a decimal equivalent. PSSAs, you can either use the pi key or you can simply use the decimal equivalent of 3.14. The next row, you see SIN, COS, and TAN. Those stand for sine, cosine, and tangent. Those are for advanced levels of math involving geometry. You are not going to need to use any one of those keys. And then in the last row, we have parentheses and we have a comma. The parentheses will be useful if you have an order of operations problem. This calculator will solve according to order of operations. So let's say you have 5 times 3 in a quantity, and we are subtracting 3 and dividing by 9. This will perform order of operations. So it will do 5 times 3 first, because that's in parentheses. And then it will do 3 divided by 9, because we do division before subtraction. And then finally, it's going to take 15 and it's going to subtract 1/3, which is going to be 14 and 2/3. Now you may wonder, how do I know that's 2/3? Well, I got a decimal and look to the right of the decimal, and you see a convert to fraction key. If I click on that, it's going to change my decimal to an improper fraction. Now, if you need a mixed number, we know the whole number is 14. So that's going to be 14, and how many thirds would be left over? 2/3. So that fraction to decimal key is very helpful. Now, looking over on the right side, I have a percent key. This will only help you find percent of a particular number. So if we needed to find 6% of 30, I would put in 6, hit the percent key, notice percent of shows up. I enter my second number, and 6% of 30 is 1 8/10, or 9/5. Next to the percent key is a fraction key. You can use this to enter fractions. So let's say we had to do 5/6, and now I need to get out of the fraction. I'm going to use the arrow key to the right to get out of the fraction. And let's say I need to multiply that times another fraction, maybe 1/3. Click on the bottom, ABC3, and I get 0.27 repeating, which I can turn into a fraction, 5/18. Let's look at that more advanced function menu. I said there were two keys here you might want to use. That would be the mean, and that would be the round key. Mean will find an average of a set of numbers for you. So when you click the mean key, you see the word mean, and then you see an open parentheses. Then you need to go back to the main, and you need to enter your data set separated by commas. So let's say I needed to find the mean of 3 5s and a 4. I would enter 5, comma 5, comma 5. There's my 3 5s, comma 4. There's my 4. So the mean of 3 5s and a 4 is 4 75/100, or 19/4, or 4 3/4. So this will add all the numbers in a set and divide by the quantity of numbers. The other tool you may want to use under that function menu is the round key. So the round key, let me actually go back, and I'm going to press enter. Now I'm going to hit round. And let's say my question asked me to round this number, the mean of 3 5s and a 4, to the nearest whole number. So I could bring down my answer, go back to main. So the mean of 4.75, or rather the rounded version of 475, is 5. This will only round to a whole number. So it's a little bit limited. It won't round to the nearest tenth, hundredths, any other value. It will only round to the nearest whole number.